code style. If it's the first time you code, it can often be difficult to understand what all the abbreviation and terms mean. Let's talk a bit about different ways to write code, both in GameMaker as well as in other languages. Do remember that code is the link between you and the computer. It is therefore important that you, as developer, understand the logic you're expressing. You will often find code on the internet that looks very different than what you have seen here. Let's look at how you can write the same commands in various ways. In if statements, it is very common to set parentheses around. A lot of other languages actually requires this, and therefore many developers are used to it. It can be easier when using multiple conditions to show they belong together. When subtracting 1 from ammo, we can instead write ammo minus equals 1. This means exactly the same, but can sometimes be faster to read. If you instead want to add 1, you can just change the minus to a plus. This way of doing it is called changing its relative value. When we have multiple conditions in an if statement, we always put 2 ampersands or 2 straight lines in between. For the ampersands, you could instead write the keyword AND. This means all conditions must be met. Instead of the straight lines, you can write OR. This means at least one of the conditions must be met. The exclamation mark is an alias for not. It turns the meaning of the condition. For example, if we have an if statement that reads, if 2 is larger than 1 and 5 is equal to 4, the conditions are not met because only the first part is true. However, if we add a not before the second condition, it is turned around, so now both are true. You can read the sentence out loud to see if it makes sense. If 2 is larger than 1 and 5 is not equal to 4, then do the following. Other things you will notice is people writing semicolon after their commands. This also comes from other languages where it is required. You will often see variable names like move speed written differently, for example with capital letters in the second word. You will also see space between code vary a lot. This is called indentation. Some people like to use tabs, others like to use spaces. It is entirely up to you to do what suits you best, as long as you're consistent and do it the same way so it's easy for you and others to read. You will often end up with code containing a lot of if-else statements next to each other. To make it more readable, we can instead use a switch where we write in the variable. After the switch, we define all cases. For example, case 1 means if the number is equal to 1, we jump straight down to here. The same must be done for case 2, 3 and 4. In switch statements, you most often want to end every case by a break command. Otherwise, case 1 would continue and run all consecutive code, which we don't want. Variables will sometimes be marked with the keyword var in front of it. This is a temporary variable that only can be used the place where the code is running. In other words, the variable will be deleted as soon as the event is over and you will not be able to use it in other events or objects. GameMaker shows temporary variable with yellow instead of blue text. There are many variants of code styles, especially in GameMaker as it is very flexible and don't have a lot of rules for how it must be done. I hope you got a slightly better understanding of how code can be written. Next lesson I will walk through what to do when stuck and don't have any idea how to proceed with your game.